Yes, we are sponsored by Dasani. Thank you so much, and welcome back to Conversation and Calculation. Why don't you, our guest stars, introduce themselves?
All right. My name is Eli Levi. I am a sophomore in Yeshiva University. I'm going for a major in financial mathematics, minor in writing. Hopefully going to get a job in an investment bank soon. That would be nice.
That would be awesome.
And, I'm from Baltimore. So out of towner, if that means anything, and that's
nice. All right, sweet. And you?
My name is Ezra Emerson. I am from Teaneck, New Jersey. I am a junior in Sim School of Business. I am majoring in management at the moment. Minor is unknown. I might do marketing, but we're not sure yet. And I am going to hopefully go afterwards to culinary school, become a chef.
Really?
And open my own place.
That is
awesome.
Fascinating. What sort of culinary do you find yourself?
I think more like for a bakery type because I want to go for a cafe.
Oh, that's
and then
amazing.
Cafe during the day and a bar at night, hopefully.
That would be awesome. That's the Jewish world really needs that.
So the only thing it'd probably be like either Florida, Texas, or Israel. I had a class a couple of hours ago called Building a Business. And in that class where we learned how to like literally build our own business, so like I brought it up over there, and then people were like, "Oh, maybe to Austin or Dallas or Houston and Florida, like Boca, Miami, Orlando is one of the few." But like, and then Yerushalayim, probably in Israel, Yerushalayim.
I heard Austin is like a really big boom.
Austin is a community where
there's a lot going on there.
There are Jews there. I did look for research. There are so far there are not any or not so many kosher restaurants there.
Fascinating. And is there a growing Jewish community there?
From what I've seen, and I haven't heard back yet. I'm gonna try to talk to people, but from what I've seen, it is not like 5 towns or Teaneck big, but like.
It's growing.
It's growing compared to like other smaller cities around the U.S. that have Jews.
Right.
Got it.
I actually have a friend. I don't know if you know Eli Gross.
I don't know that.
Okay, fine, whatever. Either way.
I know Eli Gross.
He went to Yisrael.
No.
Okay, fine. Well, either way, he's currently...
I know Eli Gross also, but not Yisrael. I understood where you're coming from.
That's gonna be like of the most stereotypical Jewish names out there.
Just
I have a friend.
You know somebody Chaim Schwartz.
Eli Gross.
No offense to Chaim Schwartz, by the way. I love Chaim Schwartz. I know a few of them.
I have
a few. I only know
4.
one Chaim. I know 3 different Schwartzes though, but none Chaim Schwartz.
Huh.
Yeah.
I have like 4. I have a kid in my 2 of my classes named Eliyahu Levi, my exact name, no middle name, same exact name. And then in addition to that, we have several other Elis. Like it's not just that. We're the exact same name.
We had the same thing last class. We're both Eli.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That is impressive.
But either way, so Eli Gross is looking to. I mean, he's working at a restaurant as a sous chef to get promoted, and eventually he wants to start his own restaurant or something.
That is
so I don't know if
cool.
he's interested in a bakery bar, but
Bakery bar. I like it. Do you have a name?
If anyone wants to help me out with names, I'm currently looking, but like I don't have anything at the moment.
Bakery
start taking up those email
like a
addresses
cafe
on
during the day and like and close up at a certain time, and then like a bar at night. And, like live music possibly, or karaoke nights.
Well, any name that you come up with, take the website domain, and just you can always sell it later if you don't need it. Or
oh, for sure. But like
Definitely.
I'm not looking right now. I'm merely just like putting it out there.
Right.
This class hopefully will teach me
how would you build
to build a business. By the way, I'm just gonna plug it out right here. If you're in Sims and you're looking for a class in next semester or next anytime, if you're coming to the YU, go to Sims. This class, if you want to actually build a business, this class should be the one that can help you out the most, of any, because it literally is going through the process.
Who's the professor?
Ari Zoldan.
Okay, I don't know him, but
Sweet.
I hope I'm saying the name right. I believe it's the name Zoldan, but
I don't know. I kind of feel bad. I literally just had this maybe 5 minutes ago, where somebody just asked me. He's like, "Hey, what's Professor's email?" And I'm like, "I don't even know Professor's name."
I had a similar. Yeah, I had a guy.
They're just Professor to me.
Right.
Like Professor I have a question.
Exactly. I don't. When do I use their name?
Right.
Well, some professors like, I've already got this so far. Some professors like know my family, so like for me, it's like hard not to like say like, oh, I know them, because like if I don't say I know them, like then I feel like.
Right.
Like my parents are like, what? Who's the professor you're taking? I'm like, I don't know his name, but he knows you guys.
Oh my goodness, dude, that is the number one key, by the way, to being sociable, is learning how to fake knowing people. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. I feel terrible doing it, but especially like coming to a new school with literally 1,500 new students.
Right.
You know, like I don't know a soul besides from my roommate. You gotta pretend to know people.
Right.
Like I do that. But like at the same time, I'm like, do I really want to like get to know you fully, or like I'm like just gonna leave it like?
Oh yeah, no. I want to get to know people, but I mean,
right.
when you're just meeting so many people that you completely forget that somebody exists.
So here's my problem: since I'm on so many big things, like I'm just like I'm in student council, soy PR. It's not really a big thing. It's like literally just making these emails with a flyer for like speeches that are happening, sponsored by Soy, and I'm the guy that just sends out the email.
Oh yeah, I do the same thing for SASA, Students Against Sexual Assault. Because against sexual assault. It's a very easy club to get people to join, because all you have to do is say to them, "Do you want to join the club?" And if
are
they
you
say
pro?
No, then it's really awkward for them.
That's really awkward.
No,
not that they're approached,
well,
you know, it's like, what is
well
the
then
implication there is well, that's disturbing.
Well then, we got a little problem on our hands.
Oh my goodness! Wow, I'm very curious. What brought you to the SSA?
SASA.
SASA, Students Against Sexual Assault.
Yeah.
What brought you to the SASA?
So I saw an email. So a little bit of background, I guess, just in general. I'm from pretty yeshivish background. I went to Ner Israel for high school. You know, ended up in
Baltimore?
yeshiva. Yeah, the one in Baltimore.
Oh, sweet! I have a bunch of friends from there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You want to? No, you don't want to do a Jewish.
I don't know if we should.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we just do Jewish geography right now. Like, I'm so down for that. No, it's not smart. Just go for everyone. Everyone.
We'll speak afterwards.
Yeah.
Off podcast or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Either way, so I came from a pretty huge background. So I got to YU, and it was just like a world of difference. First of all, it's a real college in the sense that you have this college experience with the clubs and whatever. There are a lot of other things that you don't have, which is good, but you really do get this sense of, you know, community and all sorts of other things that I really had never had coming from basically being in the yeshiva system for 6 years. So I got an email, you know, I get all the emails, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, you know, for all the different clubs and all the different, and I was like, there's a career center, they help you with that, you know, like, there's academic advising, like, oh, they tell you exactly what to do, like, you know, there's free therapy, like, there were so many things, I was like, whoa, okay, this is really cool, and I just started signing up for, like, everything. So SASA was one of the things that I got an email about, and I was like, this is something that really kind of matters. It's a real, like, thing that's going on in the world.
I too am a student who's against sexual assault.
Right. There was a recent incident at YU, which if you're at YU, I'm sure you've heard about, and even if not, it's pretty terrible what happened. So, you know, it's just something that, like, you know, I could be active about and also educate myself. Like, I really, like, okay, obviously, the obvious thing is to say, yeah, I don't like sexual assault, and that's a terrible thing, and I should be against it, which I think everyone in the world could say that. But even me, I didn't really know all that much. Like, I learned all about Title IX and what your rights are, and there's a lot of different things that I might not have been aware of, or even, you know, the cultures, and like there is this concept of like sort of redoing a culture that kind of had certain things in place that was really negative.
Are you referring to like rape culture?
Whether it be that, or that was like kind of what I was referring to, but just generally speaking, whether like the thing is, I'm still learning. Like, I still don't even necessarily fully understand the full extent of this sort of thing. And I'm not necessarily promoting, like, postmodernism or a complete revision of society and all of that. But just to the extent that there was a reality, right? Like, for example, like with race or whatever.
I was thinking exactly
right?
that.
Like, there was, up until the 60s, racism was inherent in society. Like, there's the one argument which says that, okay, so just give it time. It'll play itself out. It'll go away because it's been, what, now, not to do math on camera, but 60 years, right? I think I'm right. About 60 years since race was no longer a thing, right? That's like a really short amount of time to like let everything become like not racist, or even like there are tons of laws that haven't, let's say, gone away, that were just inherently racist without even it's nothing to do with like the way that they set up New York City and the way that they made the bus lines and the way that they set up certain districts so that the buses couldn't get from this school to that school. And there's so many laws that are just in place that we don't even know about or know to. So I feel like it's a similar type of thing. There's so much there to sort of figure out and realize that we have to sort of peel back the layers and this was not good. We don't want to be promoting that specific thing or.
Fascinating. Now, I'm just curious, how do you feel that there is still anything around in either arena, be it sexual assault or racism? How is there anything remaining? Society has undergone such a dramatic turnover.
Well, when you say dramatic turnover, what are you referring to?
I mean,
60s, in the 60s, or even now, or both, or?
I think in the 60s something began.
Okay.
But I think that with where society is at today, I mean, there's two types of racism, right?
Okay.
That are recognized by U.S. law. There's direct racism, which is where Law X states that A should apply to Y and B should apply to Z.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Purely distinctive by race.
Yes.
Then there is implicit racism, which is where a law is not overtly racist. However, its implications are overwhelmingly disproportionate.
Okay.
So there's a big disagreement between those two. Like a lot of people think some of it's being the literal A to Z or B to Y or A to Y, B to Z, and then some of it are like, oh no, it's actually just implementing it, but you don't actually see it, but you feel like it's legal.
Right, so that falls under the second category of implicit racism.
But I feel like I think this is what you were getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, but for example, the law that said that only these bus lines could go here, or here, and not to these counties or these public schools or these whatever, that would be presumably an example of an implicit. But that presumably when it was made by people who were racist with that intention in mind.
Right. I agree. I agree that was racist. However, if nobody said anything in the last 60 years, then why are we deciding now that it's racist? I
don't know. I'm not even necessarily. I don't know if you have to label it as racist. Why not just repeal the law?
I agree. If you can point to a single law that has implicit racism embedded within it, I will 100% stand by opposing that.
Well, let's flip to the other side. What would be an example of something that's been going on or that might go on that you would, let's say, be like, well, this is ridiculous? Meaning, at what point would you say this is ridiculous? Meaning, what's that point? Meaning, I don't know if you have a line or if you have something in mind or...
I mean...
It's kind of tough, I guess, on the spot, but I'm
okay, so I have something in mind. Okay. I'm just not sure if I should say it.
Okay, so no, I don't want to...
But, there are many examples of overcorrections.
Oh, no. You want to talk about overcorrections? I'll be happy to talk about it. You don't have to say anything. I'll just say it. I'll give you one example. So one of the podcasts that I listen to, in addition to this one, I'm sure is Sam Harris. And
phenomenal podcast.
He's a really intelligent thinker. Really gets at the heart of a lot of issues, and he's he really he knows what he's talking about. And one of the things he was talking about was the ridiculousness of some of the police reforms that have been going on. Nothing to do with, again, not that there haven't been instances of racism or whatever else. First of all, I would argue with anyone who says that there is systemic racism. I'm not referring to the implicit laws we might be referring to at the time, but maybe there's some sort of thing within the system itself. So if you want to be an anarchist, maybe you're right. I don't know. I don't want to start arguing with you. But to the extent that we should assume that or we know that there is systemic racism, it just doesn't seem to play out in the data. From what I know, again, if you bring me something that shows that there's systemic racism, I have not seen anything to date, but I'm always willing to be wrong, hopefully.
I've done research of the CSIJ or something like that, Council for Studies of Injustices. It's a U.S. government funded research lab.
Oh.
And they came out that not only are black people not only is race not a factor in terms of policing, but that white people are actually disproportionately killed more than black people by the police.
Interesting.
There are approximately, I forget the numbers offhand, but it was something like 1.6 times more white people are killed by police per capita.
Interesting.
Wow.
So to your point, though, right? So I think that and also just the nature of the laws that have been put out. So Sam Harris was kind of pointing out the ridiculousness of it, and that even let's just say that like George Floyd, right? It sparked off a lot of different things that like a lot of the different a lot of the what's been going on lately. It sort of sparked this and. That was, let's say, an instant of racism, right? And what was the specific scenario in which the person was hurt or killed or, like that would have happened? They were stepping on his neck, right? And they choked him, and that was probably a cause of his death, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to get too much into it. But the point being that in New York City, they made a law based on that specific event to not allow any police officer to restrain a person by putting pressure on top of them. And I'm not making this up. Like Sam Harris, I'm just kind of quoting his podcast to a certain extent. He was talking about how that doesn't make sense. If you talk to any martial artist, anyone who's trained in takedowns and things like that, the most effective way of taking someone nowadays in New York City, you have to have 4 cops to restrain one guy because they're not allowed to stand on him or sorry, not like stand on him, but like restrain him in that manner to put any sort of pressure, and it causes it way worse, right? You don't want. The problem is that we have all these videos out, right, of police this and that, and the other point that he mentioned, just not to get too much off topic, but the other point that he mentioned was that it's very different for a police to shove someone versus someone to shove a policeman or woman or whatever.
Well, there has to be this authoritative respect.
That's one piece, but even putting that aside, for whatever reason, right or wrong, that the police person shoved anyone, right? They have a firearm on them. And if you start to shove them, they have to assume that that's what's happening and that you're maybe going for their firearm and could hurt other people. So it's people don't realize, because you see these videos and it looks terrible. Like he shoves the guy, he shoves him back, and then he freaks out and does all this crazy stuff. But you have to realize that in the police officer's head, he's protecting every single person around him from the possibility of this guy grabbing his gun and shooting everyone, or himself, or whoever it is. And that whether right or wrong this police officer shoved this guy, the reaction is definitely justified. And that's another piece that people don't realize, and just the insensibleness of, I don't know the word, whatever, of these laws, and just as a pure reaction to the specific event that happened, and such a ridiculous way of creating a law. Like, who are our lawmakers that are reacting to a very specific scenario that happened, which really, the problem was racism, right? Assuming that was even the problem. But let's just say that's the problem. So why are you going to it has nothing to do with the police taking someone down in the way that they were trained to. Train them more, show them how to not hurt people. Like, the solution isn't also to cut back funding and all this stuff. Like, the solution isn't to get rid of the police. We need police. Everyone knows that. You can't have a society without police. Are you insane? But that the solutions are just so removed from the problem. They're just nonsensical, and they're completely reactionary.
Yes, so that's exactly what I was thinking, that they're entirely reactionary, and they're being implemented by legislators who are not experts. And I think that is the very key, which is something that I'm also a little afraid of, because society has progressed in a manner where we more and more rely on experts. And I'm still thinking about how I feel about that.
Well, I'll give you an interesting example, maybe to add fuel to your argument.
Okay.
I recently read a book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
Oh, fantastic.
So I read Skin in the Game. I don't know if you've gotten around to that one yet.
Not yet.
Right.
I've heard about it.
Okay, yeah. So he has a lot of beef with so-called intellectuals, and he has a whole thing, and it's great, and it's a lot of fun to read. But one of the things he always talks about is, specifically in this book, is skin in the game, and how important that is to your thinking and how you go about things. And he was talking about himself when he was in college, and he was learning about options and all that. And once he started doing it, that was when his mind worked the best. And that when you're doing something, when you're doing actions, and that experts are great, and it's good to learn about stuff. But the way that you really understand something, you really get it, is by doing
engaging.
it. So you need to engage. And I feel like maybe if you want to fine-tune your argument a little bit or add a little something to it, which is that there is an aspect, nothing against the experts, let's say, but that there's a necessary component of being in the skin in the game, right? And he brings a lot of examples, whether it be from what he calls interventionistas, so all the people in government who mess around in Iran and Libya, and he kind of brings all these crazy examples of like how it totally did not work and they had unforeseen consequences, and then he has this whole thing about, I don't want to get too much into it, but point being is that there's a very important aspect to actually, like, let's say living in that country. If you're going to go mess around in Iran, well, go live in Iran, then make your decisions, and then go start intervening and messing around. And there's a very important component to any sort of decision making or anything that you're doing, that you have to actually have skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Fascinating. I definitely have to give that a read.
Yeah, I actually have it. So if you want,
yeah?
It's
All right,
out of the library, but I got 4 more renewals left, and no one's put it on hold yet. So I got to get back to Baltimore if it. That's why I got to run back if But
yeah, I read his other one, Black Swan.
Black Swan, right?
Phenomenal book. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal book.
I just want to say I did not read Black Swan. Definitely, I think I feel like it came off as if I had read it. I did not read Black Swan.
Oh, okay.
By the way,
I intend to. I just haven't yet.
I really like how
It's on my shelf.
one word about emails, NYU, has led to your whole entire talk right here. And also, I really appreciate that someone actually reads these emails. I never found someone that reads these YU emails
dude,
and like signs up for everything.
These emails,
There's
come
so many.
by the dozen.
There's so many.
Today was one of those days.
Today was one of those days where you just turn on, you wake up, you check your email, and it's like, boom, 15 unread messages, and I'm like,
The fact
that
that he reads them and like actually signs up for them makes someone's
Makes
life
it all worth it.
Makes someone's life feel like they're doing the correct thing. Or
Yeah.
like, good job.
I love how much of a kid I sound like 15 unread emails. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Dude.
Yeah, half of them are like, oh, Sichas Musser Shear today.
Exactly.
And then the others are like clubs that were supposed to be sent out the night before. Then no one sent that because YU's email system is something out of whatever. And also, then it's like another email saying like, oh, you want to sign up for the Wall Street Journal or like New York Times? I'm like, what? Like, I got these emails from like New York Times, like sign up for the New York Times. I'm like, no. How do you get my email from YU?
Actually, it's pretty easy. You can there's a thing you can report spam and unsubscribe.
I know, but I'm a little I'm lazy.
Okay, but it's against the law actually for them to continue sending you stuff if you officially unsubscribe.
Oh.
Like, you can sue them.
That's an actual law?
My friend was telling me about it because he was very annoyed because he tried to unsubscribe and put it in the spam and all of that, and it wasn't being so successful. And he looked it up, and apparently there's a law out there. I don't think he's going to go file a lawsuit or anything.
That would be cool, though.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
you know what they have to have a law? They have to have a law against telemarketers.
Oh.
Telemarketers are so annoying.
They are amazing.
I get these. They're so annoying. I get these calls from like Richmond, Virginia, and I'm like,
Don't answer.
Do I know anyone from?
Don't answer it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm like, do I know anyone from this place?
If they send
Like,
send you a voicemail, then they'll be. And if it sounds like someone you know, then
Nah, dude. Number one rule: I don't have a voicemail. I don't have a voicemail.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
Why? What is it? What does that solve?
That solves having unread voicemails backlogged.
Come on,
Okay,
man.
but a little confused with that, but okay.
All
What
right.
do you mean? If you call and I don't answer, then send me a text.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I think I have it mostly happens to be the way that you're thinking about it does make sense. But for me, I happen to know enough people or older people, generally speaking, that still are used to that mode of communication. So like my mom would have done that up until she found the WhatsApp voice note. And now I just have 10-minute voice notes, which is fine. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
I love listening to them. It's great.
Dude, I would also the playback speed feature on WhatsApp.
That is a game changer.
That is a game changer, dude. Oh my goodness, people used to leave like 10-minute long voicemails. Now I'm reading it in like 5 minutes, and I'm like, yeah,
Big
this is
difference.
great.
Yeah, I have been told that I speak pretty fast. So my friends are like, it's so annoying to listen to your stupid voice, because I'm also a big voice note guy. I'll leave long voice notes. I probably got it from my mom.
Yeah.
I leave these long voice notes, and they're like so pissed off at me because I just go on. Like, they can't go faster than like 5 or something because I talk too fast. And I think it's because I listen to podcasts at 2 times speed. So I just
Same, dude. I'm listening to everything on 2 times speed, watching YouTube videos at 2 times speed. Like everything in my life has.
You know what
like,
that means? That you don't have the sense to like sit down and enjoy something at like a normal
Oh, relax. It's for consuming content.
That's what I'm saying.
If I'm watching a TV show, I'm not watching it at 2 times speed.
Exactly.
I
I'm
hope you don't watch
content.
Netflix shows on 2 times.
I know
speed.
some-
something for leisure. Something,
Wait. I'm sorry. What? someone watches Netflix
that I knew.
I went through
watches stuff at
How?
2 speed.
I went through a period of doing that.
Yeah, you get used to you can get used to anything. Humans are so adaptable. I'll give you an example. My phone has a crack in it. Every single time that anyone sees my phone for the first time, every single person that sees my phone the first time says, "Dude, you have a crack in your phone." I'm like, "Oh, right." But like it took me a while to get I was gonna get a new phone. It just took me a week, and by the time the week was over, I was already used to it. So I was like, I'm not getting a new phone. It's ridiculous. I'm already used to it. So it's one thing if like it messes with your screen or whatever, but it's like one of those cracks that like you could totally do everything on your phone, but just like a little bit cracked.
It just shows the crack. Like same thing with my phone. Like it shows the crack. I'm like, okay.
Oh my goodness, best story ever. So one time my friend, his phone screen cracked. I swear I'm not making this up. Okay, so he texts me, "Hey, look, my phone screen cracked." And he took a screenshot, and I was like, "Oh." You don't know how that works, do you?
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
That was a quality moment right there.
Man,
That's a great one.
I feel like I've even seen that as a meme. You know, like it's not a story. That's a meme.
No, it was
I think it's a little meme also. I think I've seen it before.
Right. That's really funny. Wow.
I think I still have the text saved somewhere. I was like, yeah, this is iconic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so if you guys want, I got this game called Icebreaker, Deeper Talk.
Fun.
It's pretty much just a bunch of cards for different conversation starters.
Sure.
So if you want, we can try this out. Just pick a card out at random. Let's see. What do people say you can't do that you're sure you really could if you tried?
So can you repeat that?
What do people say that you cannot do that you think you really could do if you tried? This is related to another question that I was going to ask you guys, which is, do you have any current passion projects that you're working on, something that you're really excited about, something that is pushing you in a way that is taking you outside of your comfort zone, and you're really, really excited about it? Like, for me, right now, it's this podcast.
Right.
This podcast is something that I'm really nervous doing. It
doesn't come off that way.
Thank you. But I'm extremely nervous doing it. The way I'm perceived by people around me.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So like, this is just giving.
Once you get out there, it's rough.
Exactly. Once you're out there, it's just Yeah.
Listen, doing college, I feel like being in college.
Being in college is good enough. Being in college
that's
is
like
good
a
enough.
hard one itself.
Yeah.
Honestly, like 5 classes, sheer in the morning. I mean, this college is different than most other colleges. There's like one other college or a couple of like.
Right.
But
we
yeah,
have a dual curriculum.
Yeah. Morning sheer, classes, stuff happening around here. Literally just walk in the library and you can find the most random things happening.
Yeah.
Like, example, this podcast. Like, I literally walked in here, I saw you, and I'm like, what you doing over here? And you're like, oh, I'm doing a podcast. I'm like, sick, can I join you? You're like, absolutely. I'm like, all right. And I thought I was gonna get back to my place by like 11:30. I'm like, here I am, 11:30, still here. Listen, it's not the worst thing in the world. I have to wake up at 6 anyways. Whatever, no sleep for me.
Yeah, dude, sleep when you're dead.
College. I don't know. When you asked that question, I thought of two things. They were both like addressing different parts of it. One thing that I'm excited to try but really scared to do is, they have a comedy event.
Oh, the comedy club, the stand-up?
Yeah.
You're doing that?
So I haven't had time to prepare content yet, but if I actually get a chance to prepare it, then I would want to do it. Not because I actually...
Boy!
I don't want to do it, but I'm so dead scared of trying it that I force myself to do things that I'm scared of, because I feel like to not do something just because you're scared is a dumb reason. Like, I'll do everything as long as like I'm pretty convinced I'm not gonna die. Like... if I think I'm gonna die, I won't do it. Like jump off this or jump off that or whatever. Like I won't do something if I think I might die.
1 sec, we're getting a new guest. Welcome.
What do we got here?
What we've got here is Conversation and Calculation, episode 3.
Okay.
Thank you.
Come join us. Why don't you introduce yourself for our viewers?
No, you don't need
No,
that.
you
Don't worry.
can leave it.
Hi, I'm Ethan Schumann. I'm from Philadelphia, but other people like to say it's complicated. And I'm enjoying my time at YU.
What does that mean? It's complicated.
That's the same question.
It really... See, my life story, it starts in a little town called Princeton, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. Not too many Jews there. They don't really have those there. But then I needed to go to high school, right? Like, people got to do that. So
Right.
the nearest like religious Jewish high school was in Philly. So I basically moved to Philly, and I was there for 4 years. And once I graduated, I came here basically, and my parents were like, America's like, all right, decent, but we want to move to Israel. So
Whoa.
they took off to Israel. So yeah,
Wow. When was that?
this was this past year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Mad recent.
Yeah, and then
That's
at
so
the
cool.
same time, this is the complicated part. So I also have a house near Atlantic City, and we sold cash that I don't make. I lose. You only lose.
I am witness to this.
Yeah, witness.
Listen, he went one day. He went too far.
I went too far.
He went too far in.
I just wanted to. I started betting as was closed. Like it just got.
It got real bad. It got real bad. By the way, we're
It got
roommates.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a good thing we're left with these sweatshirts. You can't really see on the air here, but like.
No.
Oh, we can.
got
We
cameras.
can. We have cameras. Okay. Yeah, we're wearing similar sweatshirts because this is all we have left. Because we bet all of our clothes, honestly. Yeah. So yeah. My
All
life
right,
story.
sweet.
All right. Well, is there anything that you're
What do you
currently passionate about, or
No.
Yeah. You were in the middle of talking.
Hockey.
I'm curious what he has to say.
Oh, I've none. No, ice hockey. I love hockey. I love sports in general. The whole
Alright.
thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just
Any
saying.
advice for my brother? He's in Minneapolis. He's getting
Oh,
very into ice hockey.
He's getting into it.
Well, I mean,
What's he
goes
doing in
every day.
Minneapolis? You're from there?
High school.
Oh, it's-
No, I'm not from there. I'm from Baltimore.
You're from Baltimore.
Yeah,
He's going high school in Minneapolis. What's he doing there?
high school.
I'm saying, like, why in Minneapolis?
Sick yeshiva, I think. I mean, the guy who founded it is like a multimillionaire, so he gets like actual, real good, great incentives type stuff. So like, not that my brother vapes, but like, anyone that vapes, like I heard it's just like $500. If you stop for whatever. Like they have like when you have a multimillionaire that starts a yeshiva, like it really adds a lot of like additional things that you can do that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do on a
Fascinating.
regular. Like
Yeah.
all sorts of trips. Like they take them to like football games, ice hockey,
Ice hockey,
ice hockey
yeah.
games, and
It's everything.
go to Colorado, for skiing. So
Yo,
like
what
it's
to do-
really
So cool.
What
yeah.
to do in Minneapolis? Go to Colorado. No, it's actually
Wow.
sick. Actually, a sick place.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's very funny how like I also went to high school in Queens, and and so
Huh.
like I'm also like I feel you. It's complicated where I'm from. It's complicated. I tell everybody I'm from Miami, but then everybody asks me, they're like, "No, you're really from New York," and I'm like, I don't know. at this point, I don't know.
At this point, Miami is New York.
Yeah, at this point, Miami is New York, so who cares?
New York just left and like picked up and was like, all right, Miami, Orlando, here we go. We're moving over there.
Texas, man.
Yeah. Which Ellie, you were in the middle of saying something that you're really passionate about.
So
Comedy club.
yeah, so I don't know. No, that's more like I was scared of. I don't know if I'm so passionate about. I do like comedy in general, but I don't know. I wouldn't say I was passionate about. Like I'm not gonna go hit up all the comedy clubs and be, peddling my craft, if you will.
All right, that's cool.
I do have a blog. I'll give a plug for that.
Are you serious? Dude,
Yeah, I've been
major
doing that
plug.
weekly since about May last year. So
Dude, major plug. What's it called?
it's on Substack. It's just my name, I think. Eli Levi newsletter, or Eliyahu Levi newsletter. I should probably change that.
All right.
Something,
Awesome.
I haven't
gotta check
actually
that
like
out.
promoted it all because I don't think too highly of the content. Just because I don't always. Sometimes I actually do spend the time and really I have some really. I think I have some pretty good pieces in there just on companies and things. But I don't always spend the time to really cultivate. Like it's sometimes just sort of like a thought or something, and I'll edit it once or twice. I'll run through it a couple times and just post it. But
Dude, that's awesome.
I haven't really plugged it ever because I started it just to force myself to write every week because I feel like that's a really important skill and that's something I
Yeah.
really want to develop. So the best way to do it is to write. So I started
That
a
is
blog,
awesome.
and I'm so surprised by myself because I'm like. I feel like I'm a pretty hard worker, but I'm also not so consistent about stuff. You know, shockers. Whatever. But this, so far, I haven't missed a week. But like this week, I kind of remembered only today. But it's still
Dude,
Sunday,
that's
so I got you.
amazing.
Throw it under the rug, you know, like shockers just let it go.
Oh no, I mean that's kind of you know, we don't have to get into that here. That's some off air stuff, you know.
But dude, that is so cool that you have a blog. I've been wanting to start a blog for years.
Start it. It's you don't make it crazy. Don't try and plug it. Just write. Just journal almost, but journal with things that you're comfortable sharing.
Got it.
And I've heard journaling, and it's kind of like my journal in some respects. Some of the stuff is like investing, business stuff, investment banking, specifically because I'm going to investment banking now, so I've started writing about that. It's mostly what I'm consuming. Like if there's anything that I'm like, you know, if this podcast or, you know, like I'll write about like more or less what happened that week that was interesting for me.
That's so
like,
dope.
I'll give a plug for this other podcast, Acquired, which is just, if you want to learn about any company, well, not any company that they've done a podcast on, it's the best place to go. I mean, it's just such a deep, like you really get a sense, and they...
The Choir?
Acquired.
Oh, Acquired.
As in, like, they acquired something.
Got it. I'll be sending an invoice to Acquired Inc. guys for the plug.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, going back to the comedy thing.
Yes.
I was thinking, it just hit me when you said it, that like it's something that you're afraid of.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy is probably the most frightening job I can possibly conceive of. Why? Because it's live.
I disagree.
Hear me out. It's live in front of an audience with instant reactions. It's not like okay, so live in
That's
front
actually,
of an audience.
by the way, that could be a plug for comedy, by the way. Instant reaction is one of the best ways to learn. It's instant feedback.
Right.
You don't have to wait
It's-
around. You don't have to
it's
ask
instant
people. It's
so-
instant feedback. They either laughed or they didn't at the end.
It's
Right,
like,
it's genius.
It's that simple.
It's that simple, but that's what also makes it so daunting. Could you imagine if you land a joke and it doesn't land?
Right. I'm terrified of the silence, happens to be. If they laugh at me, I've accomplished
that's
something.
public speaking.
If they laugh
That's
with me,
that's why public speaking is worse. Because public
No,
speaking,
public speaking-
you're saying things and nobody's giving you.
I will
maybe they're
definitely
giving you-
take the other side
Maybe
of
they're
that.
giving you like in smile if they start something a little funny, but they don't like leave you like a whole laugh. But like they'll like look
yeah,
at
but
you.
everyone
and, like,
doesn't
right
know
now,
it. You might feel a little bit awkward, but they might not. You
Yeah,
don't
that's what
know.
I'm saying.
You have no idea. In
In-
fact, if everyone is, meaning
And
when
at the
nobody
end-
laughs, it's very clear. You completely bombed. The end. End of story. It is the
Exactly.
It's clear to
There's
every
no,
single
like-
person in the room. You totally just messed up. The end.
At the end of a speech, everyone's gonna clap anyways. You know, so it's like doesn't make a difference at the end of a speech. It's
You
really
might feel
difficult to get
awkward,
feedback.
but there is no like you know
can't-
half the audience could be like, oh, he's doing a good job, and you would like. There's no way to know.
Yeah.
There's
They're-
no
they're
like
gonna
going
clap.
around it. You have direct feedback. There's no going around it. There's no fluff or anything from the audience
Definitely.
in that moment. It's-
Yeah. So dude, that's gotta be frightening.
Yeah, so I don't know if I you know what, I'll do it. I'll take care of it tonight. I'll write it. Just 2 minutes.
All right. Awesome.
I have some
Awesome.
jokes, but I guess I shouldn't share them here.
Could we get a sneak peek?
Well, sure, but it's not. I don't know if I'm even going to use it, so that's why I'll do it. It was
All
just.
right.
It wasn't. It's. I don't know how even I'm going to present it yet. So the idea is, I was talking to a guy in Shoal and he laughed, so that's what made me think to like repeat it type of thing. So my parents are divorced, and you know I'm looking to get into investment banking, and my mom refuses to get a 401k, no matter how many times I tell her to get a 401k. So I was, you know, I always joke, you know, like, so, and like, that's why I have to go into investment banking, because I got to make enough money to support her later. You know, she's like davening to Hashem, which is great, and then Hashem will give you the money to support her, which is what I'm doing by going to investment banking. Not to get into the whole God debate at all, in the slightest. Don't even want to touch that. We could if you want, maybe later, but not at the moment.
I actually on a future episode, I want to get that professor who's notoriously.
Oh, Johnson.
Yes.
I had him. I'll talk to him because I know him. I can introduce you.
I heard that he would be so down.
He's amazing. He is amazing. You have to be prepared for him to just
completely shred all of my belief
everything,
in everything
ever, and he
I'm-
won't. And even if you actually had a valid point, it's hard to be like he can totally like twist. Not that he would do that on purpose at all,
Right.
but like he is so well versed in these topics. Like,
So, like,
it'll be fast. Just asking questions. the
I'm
whole time. Just
fascinated.
asking
And I
questions.
want to have these conversations.
So I'll talk if you want. I can introduce you to him because he likes. me.
Yes, please, please.
Yeah. So either way, I joked with my whatchamacallit, with the guy in Shoal. I said, you know, I'm gonna have to buy a really big house because my parents are divorced, so I have to get like a really big house so that they have 2 additions, one on each side. That's my, You know, I don't know. I have to like think about the presentation if I want to, you know, change it or whatever. But that was
All right, that's good. That's good.
yeah. I don't know. There's something that happened today. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, it was during math class. I got everyone to laugh, which was nice. No, because the guy, I have a math professor, and someone yawned or something. And I had my hand up he was like, who yawned? Because that's really rude to yawn in the middle of a class, like loudly.
Right.
You know, it's okay, one thing if you're yawning, but like to like loudly yawn or whatever. I don't know, he's so annoyed. So like I raised my hand and I was like, he's like, you? I was like, no, I'm just asking a question, right? And then later, like literally 5 seconds later, someone like yawned again or something else happened. And then I was like, nope, not me, just a question, you know, like everyone cracked up. But I don't think I can actually present it. Like, I don't know if
That's one of more of those like
type,
in the moment.
But,
In the moment sort of comedy.
just a funny guy.
Yeah,
Not
just
at all.
a funny guy.
No, I just make so many jokes that like when one lands, it's like, whoa. You just got to keep on going. Yeah.
So, totally understand if you don't want to broach the subject at all, but you seem pretty open with it. Would you want to talk about your parents' divorce?
Oh, sure.
Yeah? Like, I'm
I'm totally
hear-
open with that. The only thing I would probably have to be careful about is like sensitive to them.
Yeah, of
In
course.
that sense, but
of
for
course.
my personal,
from your
totally,
own perspective.
I don't mind. I can talk about anything basically.
Yeah?
There are very few things I won't talk about. I
right.
like to. I don't know. It helps. I don't know.
I also find that, by the way, I like, especially recently, like, I'll just get a little vulnerable for you guys, a little sneak peek. I'm going to be speaking at Stomp Out the Stigma.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to speak, and then I was like, "Oh shit, I don't have depression." I'm so in favor of it.
One of those rare times you're like, damn it, I don't have mental illness.
Right, you're lucky. I know.
Damn
I'm
it.
not. That came off terrible, but like, I
know what you
like,
mean.
it's something that I really cared about, and I really wanted to be involved in. And then I was like filling out the form, and I was like, "Wait, I can't speak. Like this is like whatever."
Wait, there's a form?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
there's a
sent it
form
out a
to-
while
to
ago.
speak,
One of the
yeah.
emails that you didn't read.
Yeah.
Not
That was
to
one of the
refer.
emails I did read.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the emails
What
I
are
did
the-
Okay, so yeah.
Oh, I gotta go look back at the phone.
All right, when did they send out a date for that yet or not? yet?
March 1st.
Oh, it is. Okay, they did. Okay, but I gotta put that on
Stomp
my
out the
calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look at
I'll
this.
ask you.
So I will be laying all out to
Wow.
dry on that date. So just to like give you a little like, you know, buffer so that
Oh,
you can roll on in.
Yeah, I don't know. So it has to be my thing. My experience with it is going to be. It was much different than probably most people who have divorced parents. I did not like. It was very different in like a good way because they were divorced by the time I was 5 months old.
Okay.
So I never experienced the actual divorce, which is, from my understanding of talking to people who have experienced that, that is the worst part for sure because you see your parents fighting and all this stuff. So I did experience a little bit of it with, you know, I guess I don't know if I want to. I realized now that I probably shouldn't. I don't know how much of it I can talk about, but I did experience a little bit of that aspect of the relationship when I was older. I think mostly it would be more weird. Like I just had, in comparison to other kids, it was different, but I never like got teased or anything. Like it was nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a weird schedule because you know it was so ingrained in me. Like I didn't like to me it was like this is normal. You know, so like Mondays I was at my mom's house and Tuesdays I was at my dad's house and Wednesdays I was at my mom's house and then it was Thursday and then Friday shop Sunday. So Thursday if I was at my dad's for Thursday, then I was at my mom's for Friday shop Sunday and the flip. So like, but that was just like a weird schedule and it, like you know with like enclosed and like it was a whole weird.
Did they at least live in close proximity to each
Yeah,
other?
so they lived like 5 minutes away from each other.
Okay, so that works out very
Yeah,
well.
that was
thankfully.
like no, so like a lot of my experience is not what most people who have divorced parents have gone through. It is unique, but like it's not like a lot of the bad stuff that happened really. You know, I didn't really have to experience any of that, which is good.
Yeah, I had a friend who like I always remember that whenever we would go over, it would have to be at his mom's house after school because his dad lived in a different city.
Yeah.
And he would have to go back and forth between the two of them, and it was very difficult on him.
Yeah. So I have a friend who has a really like tough experience, also because like I got really lucky like in terms of the way it played out. Again, there was a whole custody battle and all that. But I'm happy that it got split because I now have a really close relationship, and both of my parents were remarried by the time I was 6. So I have a really close like I just have 4 parents. Like that's the reality.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. So in that sense, what was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So.
All right, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Update, I cannot find the email. Whatever. It is what it is. If guys don't want me to speak of that, it's okay. I get that.
Right.
Yeah, fascinating.
Take off.
All right.
All right.
But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Thanks
think
for
I'm-
coming,
I
man.
think I'm gonna follow suit. Honestly, I'm sorry.
No,
No.
all good, all
Alright,
good.
early
Thank
morning
you so much.
All right, I'll see you around, man.
I'm surprised that email led. I'm surprised you look at your emails though. That really surprised me.
All right. I guess I should bring that up more often. You know, like I am a guy
Who reads my
all
emails?
his
Dude, I'm putting that on my resume.
Yeah, it's
Thank
on my
you.
resume.
Thank you.
Put on your resume.
Put on my resume. Reads emails. Like, oh, okay. We got a winner.
Yeah.
Especially why you use only.
Of course.
That should be like there should be Olympics here, and that should be the Olympics like for why you like reading emails. You can read the most spam emails the fast. It's the way
Wait, they're not spam. I'm reading them for a purpose. You know.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys still doing it?
Yeah.
It's still going on?
Yeah, if you want, you can join us.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
New guys.
Isn't that weird? I was
Not weird at all.
Yeah?
Only if you want
I just
to.
had a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
As I saw, like, watching you guys from there, it looked amazing. Just have a group of people here next time. The cameras at the same setup, just more people, and like a group discussion.
Oh, that's what I want to do.
It's not just one-on-one, but I was watching from there, it's just so cool that, like...
I really want to get group discussions going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm already thinking of like different panels that I can create and
This is
stuff
so
like that.
cool. This is like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Alright, now I'm gonna be for you.
All right, shout out to Benjamin for episode 2.
Yeah.
All right, and then there were 2.
And there were 2.
So, where do you want to go in this direction?
I don't know. I mean, there's always, you know, there's so many, like, you know, there's the religion and the race and the this. There's all the classics and, you know, just whatever you're interested in. If you had something specific that you thought of for me specifically or you specifically or.
So, I'll admit I'm still relatively new to this, so I'm going to use my crutch
All right.
of these cards.
Try to remember what I was saying beforehand, but I don't know if that's
Yeah,
gonna come back to me.
yeah, we're going to have to
Get
rewind
off.
the tape for that one.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can find a good card. Pick one at random. Where is a lack of courage holding you back? So this is kind of the inverse to the question that we were asking before, which was before we were
What's
asking
something you're passionate about?
what's something you're very passionate about. This is something. What's something that's holding you back?
It's a good question.
What's something that's holding me back?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to like come off sounding arrogant or whatever. I really do try to push myself in that respect. You know, it doesn't mean I don't do things. There's all the time I don't do things, but
Right.
in the sense that if that's the only reason or that's the only thing that's sort of holding me back, you know, like with the comedy thing. So it happens to be I have my excuse of like I don't have time. You know, it's like if I ever have to fall back on that, that's my
Yeah.
excuse. Like it's not like I wasn't gonna do it. I just didn't have time. You know, but like even that, like. I don't know. It's a good question, but I have to think about it some more because if there is anything that I think of, I definitely want to try to do it.
Okay.
So,
I know that for me, and I'm getting over it. I'm not quite there yet. This is definitely, this podcast is definitely a big step in the right direction. I have terrible social anxiety, and I am extraordinarily scared of what people think of me. And it is constantly on my mind. And it has influenced nearly every single major life decision that I've ever made. It's even, influenced minor life decisions, like
Right.
what should I wear today, and what should I eat for lunch, and stuff like that, and where should I sit. Like,
sorry.
I feel like, yeah, it's okay. I feel like these are pretty common phenomena, but yeah, it's something that like I think about a lot, and I think that it's something that's still holding me back somewhat because, like, I'm first starting this podcast now, and I guess that's a good step in the right direction. But I've repressed myself so much that I'm curious
What comes?
what could come out.
Well, if you're, wow. That's a lot to hear from you, just because I don't know that about you at all. And I can honestly tell you, I would never have thought in a million years that you struggled with that. I'm just still processing. It's
Surprise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I could tell you is to stomp out the stigma. I mean, just the fact that I had no idea, like, that you had all, that you were dealing with this. I feel, first of all, I think it's going to help so many people. Just to
I
plug
really
that
hope
again.
so.
It's just, but wow. I mean, the second you were able to, get yourself to, you're already doing like. I've been wanting to do a podcast forever, and like whatever. And then I hear you're like, "Hey, you want to come on?" And I texted you because I saw it, and then I texted you, and I was just like, I was so excited. Like it's so like I love podcasts. It's the best thing ever. I want to watch you soar, man. Like,
All right, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me if this makes any sense.
Yeah.
Here's my plan for the podcast.
Okay.
Everyone keeps asking me, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan? Where do you want to go?
Conversations. The end.
That is my game plan. I want to have as many conversations as I can with as many people as I can.
The one thing I would say is that the more you do it, probably start with your friends, start with whatever, but like don't at a certain point don't have me on, like have on like people like Johnson.
I always
right?
want to have you on.
Okay, I appreciate that. But like I mean maybe friends and stuff. But like at a certain point, like meaning people will be interested. I don't know, just me like yeah.
No, so that's exactly my game plan. That I start off with my friends, and then why would anybody who has limited time in their schedule want to come on a podcast? All right? I say I'm starting a podcast. You want to come on? Who am I? If I say that, hey, I have a podcast with 20 episodes out, would you want to be the next guest?
Okay.
That's a very different story. There's tons of credibility there. Simply shoot through.
You've done the content. Like it's not just like I'm starting it. I'm
sheer
doing,
quantity.
That makes sense.
Sheer quantity yields credibility.
Definitely. I could
to a certain extent.
But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a really good point, which is that it's very nice. Like you could be really serious about it, but the fact that you've done 20 episodes says that I actually am serious about it, and you can see this because I've done it.
Yeah.
Whether they're terrible, great, amazing, whatever it is.
Exactly.
I've done this, and I'm going to continue doing it. And if you're interested, then you can come on. So I could actually, if you want to brainstorm afterwards, I have some people. I don't know who you're looking to, expand into or whatever.
Anyone and everyone.
So there is a guy a podcast I listen to. I've emailed the guy beforehand, and he's gotten back to me. So I was actually going to reach out to him for my podcast. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I was going to, but I never actually, got around to it. So if you want, I can try to reach out to him and set that up, maybe.
All right, that would be awesome.
And then he would transition into a whole lot of people.
That would be phenomenal. Yeah.
So I think you're right. To your point, though, I think it would be smart to get a couple under your belt, just so that you can also show that, look, I'm serious about this. It doesn't mean you want to come on. It just means that, like, I'm not just going to drop this tomorrow.
Yeah.
It wasn't a waste of 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
don't you start a podcast?
I mean, now I feel like I would just be, like, copying you, obviously, whatever. But I've been meaning to, and I don't know. I guess it's been on my list of, like, I literally have a list of, like, things to do, and it's been at the top of it for a long time, and I just never got the time. I guess not the time. I don't know. You know what? I should just do it. I don't know. I mean, nowadays I also have I have too many good excuses. I think I have too many good excuses with going for investment banking and all that stuff. Like everyone that I've talked to on a networking call, it's like, oh, it's a full-time job. You got to be networking all the time. The end. And to a certain extent, I hear them because, like, if I can 6 months take this extremely seriously and secure a job, that means the next 2.5 years of college, I'm good. Or 2 years of college, I'm chilling. That doesn't, like, I want to do a lot of stuff, but then it really opens me up to do whatever I want because I don't have to worry about recruiting or getting a job or any of that stuff because it's already set up. But I've been wanting to. I mean, I did start the blog, and I was sort of like Substack.
Dude,
also
I
has
still
a
can't get over that.
podcast.
That's so awesome.
I mean, I'm telling you, you should just, like, this week, you set a day, or I don't know if you want to do it weekly, monthly, daily, whatever, but
I'll figure it out.
You just pick because I've heard, I mean, just from what I've heard podcasting, from people who do podcasts and other things, like, consistency is a big factor. Not even necessarily, like, obviously once you gain a certain amount of people, then you really do need that. When you're smaller, it doesn't really matter because, like, you're smaller, so, like, it doesn't really matter. But in the sense of, like, that's an important piece. It also, like, I don't know. Yeah, but blog, it's cool. It's fun. It also feels cool, because you talk about it, and that's definitely it definitely helped me a lot. I also learned a ton because I if I actually take the time, if I have the time to like really research something, or whatever else, I learn a ton along the way, and you realize how little you actually include in your writing. Like, there's so much more, and the people that I'm getting it from are a tiny little bit.
It's a
of
distillation of a distillation of a distillation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so much information out there.
Wow.
And if you want to transition this into a different conversation, maybe, but like, that's one of the big issues or things that I don't completely understand about anyone that sort of has a claim that, you know, that I 100% know this, or like I'm 100% certain about something, and I'm kind of referring to religion a little bit, but that it to me is just such a it doesn't, I don't understand it, just because to me there's so much to know and there's so much not to know, and the more you know, the more you realize how little you know, and that's really that's true knowledge, is that once you, like, the more you know, the more you realize how much there is out there, and how, like, and it's just so hard for me to accept that there is something so like that you could consider to be like to know 100%. It's just so hard for me to accept that. It doesn't really like fit with my understanding of the world that I live in.
Fascinating. So I've definitely gone through many modalities, you know, of where I stand on religion.
Yeah.
And which I think is a very healthy thing. I think that everybody should. I think that according to the Rambam, the first mitzvah is V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, and that means he translates V'ahavta as to know, to deliberate, to conceive of, you know, and like that's the very first mitzvah, is to literally think about God, and it's like if you're not thinking about that.
Well, if you want to bring up the Rambam, that's something. So I've heard different ways of understanding it, and there are some that make a lot more sense to me than others. But if you want to bring the Rambam, ani mamin, like, what does that mean? What does it mean? I believe with a complete belief, and that's sort of one of the things that I don't necessarily take issue with, but I have really a hard time. And depending on how you take that statement, it could be interpreted, let's say, in many ways, and therefore would leave room for other things. But that's something that I kind of, you know, like, why is the expectation for me to believe something with 100% belief when the reality of the world doesn't really like lend itself to believing something with 100% belief?
I think that we would have to redefine the word belief. Okay. I think that belief is an emotional state, not an intellectual state.
Okay, fine. So that, right, but like, yeah, I think that's valid. I would want to explore that a bit more, but in the sense, yeah. So I mean, look, there are many ways to interpret it. One would be I believe the complete belief to the extent that I could believe something, in which case then that also would be a valid
right.
thing.
So you're looking
at a lot of ways to.
You're looking at it from a very analytical point of view.
Right. No. So I would want to explore the other. Like, I don't know if I might have heard it once, but like, would you care to elaborate, or it's a very simple?
So I don't know nearly enough to elaborate well.
Okay.
But
elaborate badly.
But
and say that you're elaborating badly, and that's cool.
The muscle that I've heard,
okay,
is like a child would be willing to cross the street while closing their eyes if they're holding their parent's hand.
Okay.
That is not something that the child empirically knows to be safe, yet they're confident enough in their emotional state that they would be willing to put their life on the line for that. So that is the emotional approach that I've you know heard.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to think about that more.
All right, that's valid.
Yeah.
But yeah, point is that
sorry.
Point is that you got to think about God. Even if you're, especially if you're religious, I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like,
well, how do you view davening?
I understand davening as mantra meditation.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've heard you say that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Right? Where the repetition, verbal repetition, puts one in a trance-like state.
Yes.
Where they can have
like the Ari Kaplan type, you know, different.
That's exactly what I'm referring to.
Okay,
I'm referring to Ari Kaplan Jewish meditations.
Okay, fine.
That's where I primarily get most of my understanding of davening from.
Okay.
Like, I mean,
I think that's a great place to go. Yeah.
There's
a lot of stuff.
There's also the aspect of like the, you know, something that I've come to appreciate in my adulthood now. Like in my adolescence, I thought that everything I learned when I was a kid was complete garbage.
Right.
Now in adulthood, I realize that what I learned in childhood, it is true. It's just a really dumbed down version of the truth.
Well, that's what it is for that's what I feel like
It
that
has to
can
be
applied
out
to
of
almost
necessity.
everything.
Out of necessity, it has to be right.
some
And
respects.
I understand it, and I don't have any
With,
any regrets. I don't have any ill will towards any mechanchim or teachers that portray this simplified version, because I think that that's what kids need to hear.
I would add one piece though, and just to illustrate with like a story, and I don't think this is what you're referring to, but just for me at least, I would want to let's say add another caveat of, well, Richard Feynman has a story in his book Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, which is a great read, and I would suggest it for anyone that's interested in just a fun read. It's a great read.
Okay,
really
he's
interesting
the
guy.
one that revolutionized learning, right? By saying that if you're able to teach something, then you're able to.
Not quite. I mean, he was a theoretical physicist. He was
Right, I know
involved in
that.
the atom bomb and all that. He did have. I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but he did have ways of. I don't even know because I don't know physics at all. But there were very complex ways of arriving at certain conclusions or whatever it is, and that was sort of the tried and true method. And he, just by teaching himself, actually taught himself a much more effective method of doing these things much quicker.
Fascinating.
And I don't know if that's what you were kind of referring to or not. But either way, the story...
Not what I was referring to,
okay,
but
fine.
that's also cool.
Either way, so he was in grade school. So he's Jewish, but he's not from or Orthodox or whatever. I don't know if even Reform, but he was in Sunday school or whatever it was back in the day, and when he was a kid... So he was obviously a very analytical thinker, so maybe this would more apply to him than anyone else. But he remembers he was told a story about the Rebbe or the teacher or whoever it was talking about this person that was stuck in the Inquisition's jail in Paris or whatever it was, and he was stuck there, and then his last words to God were I want to do tshuva or whatever it was that he said, and then he died or something. And he didn't understand the story because there was no one else there. How could anyone have possibly known that? And the teacher told him, "Oh no, that's not true. But it's the idea of what would have happened or whatever." So to add a little piece to that, I think not because it's so incorrect to even lie to your kids or to do things for their own benefit or to tell stories along those lines that'll convey the idea, but there is a point at which the child becomes an adult. And you sort of have to have those both things in mind, I feel like. And that while it's necessary sometimes to dumb down certain things, that maybe the correct way of doing that is in a way that when you would get to adulthood or when you do figure things out for yourself and you don't need the dumbed down version anymore, that you're not like left with that sort of resentment or even just like you feel like you've been misinformed almost.
So,
and maybe that's what you were getting at. I mean, you have no gripes, let's say, with the Mechanchem or whomever, but to the extent that, I don't know, at least for me, again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but for me, that maybe that there's a way to go about it in which, that it's sort of like viewing it as a path as opposed to, okay, he's a child, so he needs this, and now when he's an adult, he needs this. It's like, this child is going to turn into an adult, and he's going to have to figure things out for himself, and he's going to have what you told him in his head. And you kind of got to, I feel like, you kind of have both in your head.
I definitely hear that. I have to think about it.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was that I find that in my adulthood that what I learned as a child is technically true, and it's something that I have to revisit frequently to like remind myself. I'll get lost in this philosophical whirlwind, and then I just ground myself by saying like, okay, davening is where we ask Hashem for things. Closed book. Sometimes you gotta just go back to the basics.
My question, which is, how do you view that? What's that idea?
Of asking God for things?
Well, we don't. Meaning, if we believe also that the world is exactly the way it's meant to be because God is keeping it and sustaining it. That's a classic question. I mean, it's the beginning of Pathway to Prayer, and he talks about he has certain ideas in there. There are many different. I've heard like all sorts of stuff, but I've heard some of the things that are kind of compelling, and in some respects, the way that I've come to understand it myself is mostly as a relationship, and it's a way of relating to someone that's very hard to relate to, and it's hard to relate to someone that you can't talk to, that won't respond, that won't, whatever, okay, Ashkach brothers, I don't want to get into that. I have plenty of problems with that also. But like I'm saying, it's not someone that's a respond. It's not like a normal, let's say, relationship. Like I'm talking to you right now. I'm having a relationship with you. We can connect on many different levels and lots of different things. And that asking someone for something that could provide you with anything that you asked for, not that they will, but that they would, or they could, that is a relationship. It's about a relationship. But then the added piece to that, which I haven't been able to really square away, let's say, and maybe I never will, and it's okay, but then what does it mean to daven for something other than, let's say, the relationship? When people really daven for something, they really want that to happen, and then it happens or doesn't happen or whatever it is, right? Well, what's going on there?
Right. So the explanation that I've heard is that through prayer, one creates an entire different scenario.
So I've heard that, but I don't know. I've heard that answer, and it makes sense to me, and I
hear it. I have to think about it more, but
right.
That's the
I've
answer
heard that
heard.
answer. No, I've heard that. That's the pathway to prayer. That's the first. That's what they give, and it makes sense. It is. I think it does work.
Yeah.
I don't find it to be that compelling. I don't know, especially for me personally, because I'll put it like this: there is a certain. Let's just take this to like a more technical level, I guess, a little bit, and maybe this isn't really the maybe that wouldn't apply to a more technical level. But like, let's say for a minyan, right? There's a classic thing that you don't really have to have kavanah, or I mean, you have to for the first bracha of Shemona Esrei or whatever. But like, you don't have to have kavanah when you're in a minyan. That's kind of the idea of a minyan in some respects.
Right.
So let's say I was like, who's to say that this really changed me? Saying the words, do we really say that changes you, and that's enough to change your fortune, if you will, or your future? Is that what's really going on, or is it maybe like a more fundamental change that we're looking for, and only if you do that? Like, the idea is, if it was simply just we want to get a relationship with Hashem, and one of the ways to go about this is by asking Him for things, then I'm okay with that. When you say that it somehow actually impacts life, first of all, I don't know how this is going to come across, but statistically speaking, they have measured this. They have measured people who have people praying for them in the hospital and people that don't.
I've read about
and depending
those
on
studies.
which study you look at, sometimes it kind of does correlate and it does help. Sometimes, now recently they've come out with more studies that seems like it doesn't really help. But there doesn't seem to be a statistically significant number of like that prayer really helps. And I'm not trying to just bring in science and Torah and that whole like messy thing that really shouldn't be messy. It's pretty simple to me, but I don't want to get into that, and I could, but I don't really want to.
For a future episode.
But to the extent that there isn't seemingly any evidence to suggest that it really does work, as many Hashgacha Prata stories as there are out there. But if you ask my Rebbe from Yishrei, Rabbi Gordon, like when his kid had to write a report for school, like an essay or something on Hashgacha Prata stories, so he told him, write about a terrible thing that happened to you. Right, because that's also it's also from Hashem, right?
Yeah.
The idea, right? So like that's sort of like, to me, it's nice, and I kind of want to believe it's true. It just, I can't, just because I haven't seen any reason to believe that it's true, that it does change your reality. I'm not like advocating not davening. That's not my point at all. It's just to say that the idea that it actually does change, that because you really really daven for to get married or whatever it is that you really really want deeply in your heart, and you even change yourself, and whatever it is that needed to happen, it just, if there's no real evidence for that thing being true, I have a hard time squaring away the two ideas.
Okay, I hear that. I have gotten, and I'm going to sound very, very hippie right now.
Okay.
But
That's okay. Hippie's good.
I have gotten very into the concept of manifesting your reality.
Okay.
And whether it's God or just sheer willpower, but consistently davening for something that's within your control really makes things happen. It makes things happen.
Okay, so what I would say to that, and this is not to argue with you at all, it's just then davening doesn't really, it's not like now because Hashem hears your prayers and says, okay, you know what, I'll give it to you. It's that through davening, you bring yourself to a point that you now are capable of that thing.
And that's ultimately what I think it is.
Okay. No, but again, that's a way of understanding that idea.
Right.
Which is different than the classic way of understanding.
The only problem that I have with that is then how can you pray for other people? that is something that I'm still struggling with in any understanding of how tefillah works. Like,
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
how do you pray for other people? It's one thing if like Hashem is Santa and he's just giving out gifts, then
Right.
okay. But if we're saying that it's to create a relationship,
Or that you change
But
yourself, or whatever it is. That's going
whatever
on,
it is,
doesn't seem to make sense.
doesn't apply. It doesn't apply to somebody else.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
point.
that's something that I'm still working on, and I just want to like note this because I think this is very imperative to say. Like for example, I uploaded a video on YouTube,
Okay.
like a couple of months ago, just a Devar Torah,
Okay.
right? And the tagline was that I don't believe in God,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That was my Devar Torah. I don't believe in God. And my mom was like freaking out. She's like, "Oh my gosh, people are gonna think that you're a kofar. People are gonna, whatever. You have to write a disclaimer, right?"
Yeah.
So I wrote a disclaimer. So the punchline there was that I don't believe in God. God believes in me.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. But I just want to like just throw out a little disclaimer here that like what you and I were discussing before, that like people can't be afraid to think. And now, going back to what I said earlier as well, but at the same time, you also have to keep that third grader in your pocket when sometimes you get too lost in the philosophical whirlwind and you're trying to figure out, how could, do I even exist? You got to remind yourself, like, okay, wait, go back to third grade
Well, that I think.
and remember.
Yeah, I think I don't want to just like pretend like this is what I was saying. I don't want to like take what you're saying and pretend like it's mine. But I feel like that's very similar to like that's why I feel so strongly that to say that you know something 100%, it's just such a hard like I always want to just be exploring and learning new things, and to say that right now everything that I know is 100%, like I can guarantee you my thinking is going to change in 5 years. I really hope it does.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, that means I'm doing nothing. Right?
Exactly.
So to that extent, like people should be thinking. I agree with you. I mean, I don't like to like let's say pick fights or even say something that might come off as like an attack or whatever. And I don't intend it like that. But at the end of the day, I truly think this, and then I'm just gonna say what I think. But and I completely agree with you. People need to think, and to say that you shouldn't think or you shouldn't do this doesn't mean there aren't ways to go about it. Or if you're scared of this or you feel very like you can feel whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you can't say that you shouldn't think. I think I think you're right.
Yeah, it's actually funny. There's this rabbi that I really look up to.
Yeah.
Orthodox.
Oh, really?
I had to preface that because of his comment. He said that the two people he thinks are craziest are atheists and theists. Because he said that for anybody to be so confident about anything is just a
Right.
logical fallacy, and you're lying to yourself.
Right. Anyone that's halfway intelligent that's an atheist, like I've heard Ricky Gervais, who's a very much an atheist, like very, very much so. Even he, when he like it happens to be on Stephen Colbert or whatever, I don't like watch the show, but like I happen to see a clip, YouTube, whatever.
The YouTube black hole.
Right. Exactly. It's rough.
Dude, it's almost as bad as the philosophical whirlwind.
Yes, exactly. But even he was like, "Look, I'm an atheist, but no, I'm agnostic, but I'm an agnostic atheist, right? I'm an agnostic that thinks that atheism is correct. Like I don't think that there's a God,
What exactly is Gnosticism?
Gnosticism or
Yeah.
agnosticism?
No, so I know what agnosticism is.
I don't know what
What is
Gnosticism is.
so Gnosticism is apparently the other side of the spectrum. There's theism and atheism,
Yeah.
and then there's Gnosticism, which is in between the two, and then agnosticism, which is in between the two, and then there's Gnosticism, which is, I believe, the inclination to believe that there is a God, but not know it definitively.
So you're saying that agnostic wouldn't actually be? I always interpreted agnostic as just not sure.
Right.
But
so,
I guess
so,
this would be not sure, but I'm probably sure that I'm on the side that it's probably not God.
So that's what I believe the
Uh-huh.
proper definition of agnosticism
Interesting.
is.
Okay, I didn't know.
Agnosticism is inclination towards atheism, while Gnosticism is inclination towards theism. Yeah, so that's what I think. I think that we have to always keep that third grader in our pocket and remember that Hashem loves us and Hashem listens to our tefillahs, but at the same time we got to think. We gotta think.
Yeah, or I think you could maybe put it even a different way. I've heard this from, I think, Rabbi Lapiansky. He says, right, you gotta live, you gotta function in life, and that to like Rene Descartes, right? He sort of scrapped everything and started from the beginning, and that's very nice.
Who's Randy Carr?
Just a philosopher, 1500s, 1600s, something like that.
Cool.
I don't know. He's one of the bigger thinkers, I guess, out there. Did a lot of interesting stuff, and so he sort of had this idea that we'll start, like, everyone is born with biases and preconceived notions of everything, and you can't really get away from it. But he's like, okay, I'm going to strip it down to basically whatever I can, nothing. It's a nice idea, but I think Labianski's point is that you have to function life, you have to live your life, and to a certain extent, if you're born Jewish, so you do the Jewish thing. You should make sure it's right and verify. Trust but verify. But there's a level at which you gotta live. You have to have a path to living a successful and productive life, and maybe that's the basis. I guess you have to have something to work with, I guess. But and then you work from there. You work from what you're born with, kind of, because you kind of have to, in some respects. But I don't know. I guess that was actually different than what you're saying. So, but,
I don't know. I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you down to go more?
Sure.
Okay. Sweet. Oh, wow. This is a great one.
Okay.
You decided you wanted to go more.
All right.
What failure do you feel embarrassed to talk about? Failure that I feel embarrassed to talk about.
That one.
Yeah.
Prepared something, something good. Well,
I got a great story.
Yeah, go.
I got a great story. I'll let you
please,
think.
please.
So.
Well, I want to focus on what you're saying, so it'll be hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So picture the scene.
Okay.
8th grade, Ellie Sandhouse. He thinks he is the coolest kid in the world, right?
Okay.
Now, what is the most stereotypical, paradigmatic thing a man can say?
I'm not gonna get this. Just do it. Just say it.
I can jump that.
Oh.
I can jump that.
All right.
That is the most stereotypical thing that is the core essence of what it is to be a man, is to say I can jump that. so standing there in front of the youth center with a bunch of my friends, right? Of course, there's a bunch of girls on the side. I'm trying to impress them, right? Not talk to them, of course. You got to impress them from afar.
Right. Just have them be watching you.
Exactly. So I say to my friends, there's a garbage can over there. And I'm like, yo, I can jump that. I run. Mind you, I do parkour.
Oh.
So like I'm pretty good when it comes to running and
cool.
jumping and whatever. So I'm running full sprint ahead. Boom. Get the jump. Nice arc. The garbage can, for those of you who have ever been to Miami Beach, they are really, really tall. They're really tall. So I clear the garbage can, the first side of it.
Oh.
Then there's a lip on the other side of it. My feet land on the lip. Okay? I'm standing there for like a second on top of the garbage can, and I'm like, okay, that was pretty cool. Then the garbage can, these things weigh like 150, 200 pounds, starts to tip. Okay? I fall into the garbage can. The garbage can falls over, rolls. I'm just like,
Oh, man.
So that was a failure that I am embarrassed to talk about. That time that I failed to jump the garbage can.
Yeah. It's a good story. I mean, the one that kind of occurred to me, wow, that's I don't know how to top it.
I don't know. Not topping. Don't worry, dude.
No, I don't know. I was trying to think of something. I don't know. I mean, I did get in a car crash this past summer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was like the least car crash of a car. Like, I basically bumped the guys. It was a fender bender, but like even less. Like, I was at a red light and I got in a car crash. Like, it was
Okay.
I was looking at my phone to check where I was going, and then my foot must have like come off the brake, and I just like slowly rolled into the guy's car. So it's really
so
whatever.
rough.
That was kind of rough. But it was actually, what was worse though was because it wasn't even my car, and I didn't have my lessons on me, and it was in Miami. It was actually in Miami.
Dude, that is literally my worst nightmare. I am so scared of driving other people's cars.
I can't wait for the I don't like it's such a bad feeling. Like it's because if it's my car, it's like I don't care. So
It's
what?
like, okay.
It's destroyed. It's whatever.
It's
but
it's mine.
It's my problem. Like I don't care. But like when you have that that person, it was my boss, and like it was like
Oh,
awful.
that's so bad.
He was like the chillest. Like he just could not care less, and just was totally like nicest. Like he was really great. But I didn't know that. It was the worst phone call I ever had to make. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I know it's your car.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
pretty bad.
I gotta say, I don't know. I have this it's funny. I have this it's not irrational, fear of driving. Like, you can ask my parents, like, any opportunity that I will take, I will be the passenger.
Well, I'm not for your reasons, but just because when I'm driving, I can't be on my phone and stuff.
No, no. In me, it's not a matter of being on my phone.
Yeah.
Me, it's like I'm scared of being in control of something so powerful. Like, you have to realize that. Now, at the same time, I have to remind myself that there are plenty of idiots out there who drive cars, right? But at the same time, there are also plenty of idiots out there who drive cars and get into accidents. And
it's never you. It's just the other guy. You just gotta watch out for the idiot on the road.
So like, there's like twofold
Other than
to
when
this
it is the
fear.
idiot.
Other when you're the idiot. Yeah. So it's like twofold that like I'm scared of other people on the road, but then I also wouldn't be a passenger. What I'm more scared of is me being the idiot.
Right.
I am so afraid of it, which is so weird because like I'm more scared of that. I've gone skydiving a bunch of times. It is awesome.
I've been wanting to do that for a while. It's so expensive though.
Dude, we got to go together.
Okay.
Find it on Groupon. I'm telling you, that's the move. Find it on Groupon.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be in Florida this summer, so we can. I don't know if you'll be around.
All right, let's do this.
I've been wanting to do this for like forever, man.
Dude, oh my goodness.
My mom told me to tell her
nothing
after
like
I do
skydiving.
it. You know, so, I can't.
There's
I
nothing
so
like
wait.
it.
I know I'm not gonna be able to, but I really want to actually jump out myself. I know I'm not gonna be able to. Like, there's no way. Like,
No,
my
you're not
body won't
legally.
let me.
Legally, you're not
really?
allowed to.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
you have to be certified.
Maybe
Yeah.
okay. They have to push you. You're saying?
No, you have to be strapped to somebody.
No. I mean, but like, do they shove you out or like jump themselves?
Yeah,
or?
they shove you out.
Oh, fine. Because I was gonna say, like, I don't know. Like, I remember I was in.
You sit on the edge and they like tilt
yeah.
out. Yeah, no, to like the jumping out, that's
Right.
you got to be certified.
I see. Yeah, no, because I was in this. I went to a camp. Well, I was actually a counselor there, but and at the end of this, it was like this ropes course. You know, and at the end they had like the double black, whatever it was. You know, there was this jump. You kind of jump off at the end. So for the really tough one, they have it like free falls for like the first 15 feet, and then it catches you, and then you like slowly lower to the ground. So I was like super pumped to do it, but when I got to the edge, I physically could not get myself to jump off. Like I was like, just jump, just like like I could not physically push myself to jump. And then there was a guy behind me. I was like, you might just have to shove me off. I just chilled there for like 5 minutes, caught my breath because it was like a tough thing beforehand. And then I kind of just didn't think. Like I turned it off my brain and just let my legs walk off. And I just jumped. And then it was the coolest thing ever. And I couldn't wait to go do it again, but I couldn't because it was too late. But whatever. Like I could not wait to do that again. It was like the adrenaline. I'm an adrenaline junkie, I think. But
Yeah, no, oh my goodness, like that feeling, like your mind going blank.
Yeah,
Imagine that for like a minute straight.
can't wait.
Literally, your mind.
It was like almost like an out of body experience. Like I could like watch myself like walking off. You know, like
it's the most out of body experience out there. You're literally. There are no thoughts going through your head at that moment. You're just like, oh my god.
I mean, I've been wanting to do it. I've been talking about it forever. I just never, you know.
All right, settled. We're going.
Okay, it's done. All right. Things happen. Things like this happen on podcasts. You know?
Yeah,
It's
things like
is
this
where it
happen on
happens, you know,
podcasts.
That's where it happens. Yeah.
All right, so sadly we are out of time.
All right.
But definitely to be continued.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Definitely
This is
to
awesome.
be continued. Dude, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Episode 3. Gotta pause the recording.